Hey, everybody. Really excited for this chat today as we talk about modern connectivity, AI powered modernization, and what enterprise customers really need from their wireless partner in areas like healthcare, retail, and beyond with John from Cellhub. John, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me today.
Well, thanks for being here. Really excited for this conversation. You're one of T-Mobile's longest tenured and exclusive agency partners. Maybe tell us about that. And who is Cellhub for those who may not be familiar?
Super. So Cellhub was actually founded 28 plus years ago when a fellow by the name of Andy Sinha established a relationship with VoiceStream, which then over the years transformed into T-Mobile. And so our distinction is we're very proud of having a 28 plus year relationship with T-Mobile and have been loyal to T-Mobile through the entire period. Cellhub has, to your point, a number of different contractual relationships with T-Mobile. First and foremost, we are partnered under T-Mobile for Business, commercial liable. We also can do individual liable because we have that's really the basis of the company when it started, which was Andy had 82 stores up and down the East Coast. And so we maintain that contract. We also have a wholesale relationship with T-Mobile such that we participate in T-Mobile CSP go-to-market process. And last but not least, we also are a systems integrator for T-Mobile. And in fact, deploy a number of portals that large Fortune 200 companies, I'll say it like that, use our portal to manage their enterprise estate, T-Mobile enterprise estate, from a provisioning, procurement, all the way to managing billing and whatnot. So we're a full service shop. And last October, we acquired the team that was formerly with a very large Indian systems integrator called Tech Mahindra and have really bolstered our network capabilities. When I say network, think core corporate network all the way to cellular carrier from an OSS BSS layer. So today we're a full service systems integrator and primary agent all rolled up into one.
Wow, that's quite a unique position. So you're bringing together different technologies, vendors, even services for customers. How does that look sort of behind the scenes?
Yeah, I think to answer the question, I actually came to Cellhub roughly 2 years ago after spending 7.5 years at a small little IT distributor called Ingram Micro. And I say that tongue in cheek because Ingram certainly isn't small. I ran an enterprise business for Ingram, and during that period of time, had a portfolio of clients, which included systems integrators and network operators. So wireline, wireless, the entire portfolio was under my P&L. And it was clear to me back then, by spending a lot of time with analysts from a go-to-market point of view, doing research, that if T-Mobile could actually execute its vision of operationalizing the spectrum they bought from Sprint, T-Mobile would be a force to be reckoned with. So at Ingram, I spearheaded the group that rekindled the relationship with T-Mobile with a fellow by the name of George Fisher, and really reestablished that relationship. And shortly thereafter, recruited a partner to come in and execute that vision. And when I say execute that vision, it was Pixel, who we recruited at Ingram, that did the very first ANS deal for T-Mobile, which was the Boston Children's Hospital deal, which now has become fairly famous on the way you take T-Mobile's 2.5 product offering and then turn it into an enterprise grade solution solving for, in this instance, healthcare challenges. So I left Ingram after that to concentrate solely on T-Mobile, raised private equity, tried to buy Cellhub candidly for 9 months. And at which point, Andy and I got together for dinner and said, hey, look, if your theory holds up and what you say you can do holds up, then the only people that's going to be wealthy is private equity. He says, I've got plenty of money. Let's self-fund the growth and let's see how that works out. So for the last 2 years, we've been bringing together a portfolio of partners to bring T-Mobile's technology to market. One of those partners, I'm happy to say, is we support CDW, which is a fairly good size IT reseller globally. And so we support CDW, and at the same time, we get to market breadth by supporting a distributor called D&H Distributing out of Hershey, Pennsylvania. And so between the two, we do business day in, day out with about 500 partners that are typically IT resellers and MSP providers. And that's how we go to market. So to your point, we sit at the intersection of telco, wireless, and IT, and we bridge the gap about solving for IT challenges with T-Mobile's tech stack. That was a mouthful, but I hope that helps.
Amazing, really helpful. What an incredible story over the past few years. And a lot of your focus and a lot of the excitement in enterprise is in certain verticals around transformation. You mentioned healthcare, Boston Children's, amazing institutions, particularly for us in the Boston area. We love and appreciate the work they do, especially. So what big picture, what kind of connectivity and other challenges are hospitals facing right now? Give us the big picture from your point of view.
Yeah, I think when you talk to any hospital CIO, there's really three mandates put upon them. First and foremost is how do you solve for clinical communications, particularly in buildings as old as Boston Children's, right? So part of the challenge is when you architect your clinical communication strategy based on Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi has a very tough time propagating its signal through thick walls and or through very, very large space instances. When I say that, think courtyards, think really large campuses, right? It's very expensive to do that with Wi-Fi. So political comms is the first problem. The second problem is with the advent of trying to drive more revenue for hospital systems, solving for remote patient, and I'll say insert the last verb, whether that be monitoring, care, or hospital. That's really the next phase that hospitals are driving quickly to figure out how could they deliver care cost effectively and candidly turn a profit from it and do it in a safe, secure environment that gives the patient the same clinical experience at the hospital, but at home. And the third issue that hospitals have, candidly, is the underlying infrastructure. Most hospitals spend a lot of money where they should, which is in care, but not necessarily in security. And so hospitals are a terrific target from a bad actor point of view. And hospital breaches are unfortunately a very common occurrence. And so if you get breached, the first thing that happens is your network is now dirty. So how do you keep up your clinical charting communication when your network is not as secure as it should be? And what we've done with T-Mobile is to help T-Mobile architect using 5G as a backup resilient network in an isolated recovery environment, which is a fancy way to say, God forbid, if the hospital gets breached, there's a secondary network that kicks in that keeps that hospital hobbling along, to keep continuity of care going while the systems are being restored. So when you put those three factors together, T-Mobile's in a really unique position to be able to help hospitals solve for some pains and challenges that otherwise would be very difficult to solve for, but for T-Mobile.
AI is changing the game of business. Will you be on the winning team? I'm Jordan Wilson, the host of the Everyday AI podcast, and your coach to help you learn the X's and O's of AI. Artificial intelligence isn't just a new player in the game, it's a new sport altogether. So if you don't quickly put AI into play, your competitors will run up the score. I've spent my whole life building winning teams, from coaching basketball to working with big players like Nike and Jordan Brand. My next move? Helping you win with Everyday AI. Listen wherever you get your podcasts or on everydayaipodcast.com. Let's tap into AI together and put points on the board.
Amazing, literally life-saving work there. Shifting gears into another segment you're super active in retail, specifically grocery retailers. You built a connected store program. What is it? How does it work? And why does it matter?
Yeah, so we went to market. So the comment I shared with you earlier is that we go to market through our partner community. So we have a partner called Think Blue, whose founder was a 20-plus year head merchant for a grocery operator, a very large regional grocery operator. Parag Shah is his name. Wakeford was a company he worked for. And so Parag helped me understand two things. One, the intersection of where food is now equally as important to think about as health. So in the grocery industry, believe it or not, with the onset of GLP-1s, the portfolio of products a grocery operator now thinks about selling has been dramatically changed because of our collective healthcare, both needs and desires. I didn't know that. I wasn't aware of any of that until Parag helped me connect some dots, number one. Number two, we then engaged with associations that operate in that space, which validated that need. So in grocery, there are essentially three core problems that grocery has had from a connectivity point of view. First thing is the uptime of their stores as it relates to cable or fiber cuts, right? And I gently remind everybody that if you're looking at 4 nines of availability, that typically results into somewhere between 7 and 11 hours a year of downtime, which is fine if it happens at midnight. It is not, however, fine if that happens to you on Christmas Eve, right? So continuity of connection to the internet is job one for most grocery operators. T-Mobile answers that call now with something called super broadband, where they fuse together a fixed wireless connection along with Starlink to deliver a predefined service level and at a price point that candidly can't be met by without the buying leverage of T-Mobile. So super broadband really solves that very first issue. The second issue that we now tackle in food grocery is how do you improve the consumer experience when they walk into that supermarket? And the answer is you want to have the consumer be able to keep the communication going with the app in the store so that wayfinding can occur, so that offers can be made. And so we solve for in-building coverage of supermarkets and grocery operators. We then extend that expertise to refrigerated warehouses. So if you think about large grocery operators or the distributors that serve them, we're talking anywhere from 500,000 to 1,000,000 square feet refrigerated warehouses. And something that a lot of people don't think about is that what is stocked in those aisles change based on seasonality. So I'm making this up just to illustrate a point. In the summertime, when it's really hot, you may have cases of water go all the way up to two stacks, right? And then you shift over to the next month, and now you're transitioning to the fall, and all of a sudden now dog food sits in that same location, but is now stacked 30 feet high. The problem with Wi-Fi is Wi-Fi doesn't like that varying change of the height of the blockage of signal. So to solve for the pickers running up and down the aisles to accelerate communication and connectivity, the way you solve for it is to put cellular in-building coverage and convert the communication and those automated pickers to a cellular-based environment. So we do that. And then last but not least, the thing that most grocery operators think about is how do they monetize via their retail media networks. And most grocery operators are pretty savvy. What they don't want to do is they don't want those RMNs to be running off of their core networks, which means that we have to work with RMNs to bring in essentially a secondary connection that's always up, because the RMNs is one of the different ways that grocery operators are monetizing their foot traffic and their ad spend and whatnot. So you wouldn't think of it, but I've now learned that grocery and food and health are very closely interconnected, because many grocery operators actually have a pharmacy in, if you think about it, right? So now you begin to see the work that we did in health, in the provider space at hospitals sort of spill over into the next level of helping consumers eat better and take care of themselves.
Well, a huge part of our economy as well, and underinvested in, I'd say, for many decades. So it's great to see these solutions coming to market. Speaking of solutions, I'm on your website here, and I'm intrigued by something I see: strategic cost and optimization, a sort of AI-first cost analysis platform called Scott. We love our acronyms, don't we, in tech? But how does it work? How does it help customers find savings and help offset the cost of modernization?
Yeah. One of the challenges when we address large transformational projects is the cost to do so. And almost always our discussions with CIOs pretty much end up like this: I love the technology, but help me find the money to actually afford it, right? I know I have latent spend and cost buried into my existing either infrastructure or the way that I deploy IT. Use your capability to do that. I shared with you earlier that we had acquired a team formerly from Tech Mahindra who developed essentially a super sophisticated data, I'll call it a data reconciliation engine. I want to stay away from AI. Yes, it uses AI, but I don't want to overuse that term. What it does do, however, is it will bring in cost and spend costs however the end user has it. It could be in filing cabinets. It could be in a CMDB. It could be with a telecom expense management company. Part of the challenge is that these different disparate pools of data are just that. They're disparate. So having one place to ingest it and having the expertise to look across wireline, wireless, and IT, we get to drive cost out. So let me give you an example why a traditional 10 only would have a more difficult time than the way we do. Typically, when you're dealing with a 10, they will say, hey, you have a 1 gig circuit into this building, you're paying X for it. Like for like, you would go out and try to get a like for like SLA at a lower cost. But what if I said to you, Evan, the way to solve that is not like for like, but to change the technology that you're using for that connectivity? What if I said to you, I can now drop in a Cradlepoint fixed wireless router, and then I could bond the connections, get you the same or near same level of the service levels that you stipulated for literally half the cost. And that's what we do. So yes, we look at pure cost in its basic like for like reconciliation, but we also look at the world of how do you adopt different technologies, all enabled by 5G, to lower costs. So that entire process is called strategic cost optimization and transformation, hence Scott. And we do it on a gain share basis. So there's very little risk to the end user, and there's an enormous amount of upside the way we structure it. And we work hand in hand with folks who are 10 providers, as much as folks who are, I'll call it in the ITSM space, with CMDB true-ups and whatnot. So we stitch together a capability that we think is pretty compelling.
Sounds like it. And so Scott helps find the savings, and then you need to kind of design what comes next. And I understand you have a platform for that as well.
That's right. So one of the challenges with network design is historically it's been, I have an engineer or CCIE that's gone through the level of certification to help me design a network. And then that network design gets iterated back and forth with the end user. And so from the time you start a network design until you finish a network design, you've probably gone through, on average, 20 to 30 iterations. Here's the challenge. The challenge is that when you don't have automation, all of that is via emails back and forth, which is a terrible way to update systems of record. So our system uses, yes, a little bit of AI to help configure it, but really what it does is there's a system of record that allows you to maintain the changes made from each design, so that when you roll it back and you go back to figuring out what is the right design that the client likes versus what the recommendations you make, we infuse automation from a design point of view with a system of record, with our ITSM capabilities. And what you then have is an ability to design, I would say, mid-market networks rather, and do it with speed, because you've literally cut down that back and forth with the client. So you can literally be sitting on the phone, on a video call, not unlike this, with the client and say, let's look at the real-time changes that you're looking for, and here's the impact. So that's a product called DesignX.
Amazing. Well done. So just to wrap up here, looking ahead, what are you excited about over the next weeks, quarters, in helping partners and customers? What's on your mind, you and the team?
Yeah, we've been working what we believe is the single biggest problem in the mobility space, and that is security. We partnered with a company called Movius, where we can lock down the communication from a governance and compliance point of view. But in the days ahead, what we'll be able to lock down is a peer-to-peer identity obfuscated communication system. So what I'll be able to come back to you and say, Evan, not only can I lock down your physical device, right? Your phone with an MDM, with a multi-threat defense system. But more important, I can actually secure the communication that the two of us have because we've authenticated. And we can do it in a way that is peer-to-peer, which means that it's very hard. Never say never, but it's practically impossible today, even with quantum, to break through the encryption layers that we've built. So we think that the next layer and next generation of solving for mobility is locking down that mobile device, both in terms of the apps that you're using, but as well as the communication you're having through it.
Well done. Amazing work, and keep it up. Much needed in the enterprise, and onwards and upwards. Thanks, John.
You bet. It's been a pleasure, and thank you so much for having me on today.
Thank you. And thanks, everyone, as always, for listening, watching. Also, check out our TV show, TechImpact.tv, monthly on Fox Business and Bloomberg Television. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, John.
Take care.